Another reason why I left religion, church, Christian fundamentalism, and Christianity is because church teaches that godly men don't pray. Now, when I say pray, I'm not talking about P-R-A-Y. I'm talking about P-R-E-Y, like predation. When you grow up in a patriarchal institution, whether it's secular, religious, or a combination of the two, you grow up in a world where you don't confront men. Once a man is old enough, usually 16 or older, he's no longer taught by women. And church teaches that a godly man gets married to a woman, provides for his family, has children, and is a godly leader. And you'd say, what's wrong with that? That sounds like a decent guy. He very might as well be a decent guy. The problem is making that the default setting on a good man. When you see different kinds of men, who do you trust more as a woman? A man who is single, a man with a criminal past, a man who is dating, or a man who is married with children? Everyone will probably say we would always trust the married man more than anybody else. Because 98% of all the senior positions of leadership in a church is held by married men. I mean, you can't be an elder, a deacon, or a pastor unless you're a married man. And this sets up a dynamic where men who don't fit this sterile, toxic part of masculinity is not as appreciated. You put a married man, a man who's engaged, and a single man lined up next to each other. Who do you think is going to get the most important position in church? I'd say 99% of the time, the man who's married. The man who's engaged may be able to secure a junior leadership position in a church. The single guy, he's lucky if he's in charge of handing out bulletins, because the church doesn't appreciate single people consistently. And if you've been in a church where they treat everyone equally and there are non-married people in positions of extreme senior leadership, good for you. But it's not mainstream. The biggest denominations are not like that. When you set up that being married is an idol, Christians worship marriage, the family, and children more than they do God. Why? Because there's more marriages in church, like weddings every year, than holidays for Jesus. When you think of a Christian, you usually think of a married heterosexual white family. Some of you might think of an African American family. That's fine. But when you think of religious people, you think of very heteronormative, sterile, very, common-looking people, usually with a little bit of money. So, the problem is, if you look at the statistics of the FBI, state and local and federal arrests, you'll notice that the majority of people arrested for crimes against women, children, and vulnerable people. What percentage would you like to guess are people who are married? Well, According to a reporter working with the Lutheran Church, which you can actually look it up on reporter.icms.org, 93% of convicted sex offenders describe themselves as religious. 66%, 2 out of 3 inmates in prison, describe themselves as religious. That means a lot of people on death row are religious. Less than 1% of people in prison for any crime is an atheist. And people have the moral audacity to say with a straight face that I'm morally corrupt. Sexual predators target churches, schools, daycares, medical centers. Why? Because parents are put